It's a great day to be outside and in a pool here in Florida. But having a swimming pool in Florida, is it worth it? My family and I just went through the process of building a pool. So today I'm going to talk about the real cost of building a pool versus buying a home with an existing pool, and some of the hidden expenses of the building process and of pool ownership, and then whether or not it's worth it. My name is Amy Smith. I'm a real estate broker here in Tampa, Florida. Swimming pools are certainly the most popular home feature that people tell me they want when they're looking for a home. This isn't surprising, of course. One of the reasons people want to move to Florida is to enjoy the outdoor lifestyle, and a pool, of course, is a big part of that. I myself was a very typical Florida home buyer because when we were in the market for a house, I wanted a pool. I didn't end up buying a house with a pool. Houses that we liked with a pool were just out of our budget. So instead we focused on finding a house that we liked with the hopes that maybe someday we could add a pool later. That leads to this question: how much more does a house with a pool cost? Well, there's no formula because there are just too many factors that influence a home's value. Location, market, amenities, just to name a few. But I did some estimating because I know you want an answer. I wanted an answer. I looked at the average square foot cost from the last several months on 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses in the greater Tampa area. Here's what I found. Median square foot prices in this area for houses without a pool range between $150 and $170 per square foot. The median range for houses with pools is $165 to $195 per square foot. So if we apply those ranges to a hypothetical 2,000 square foot house, that would be $330,000 for a house with no pool versus $330,000 for a house with a pool, and at the top of that range would be $340,000 to $390,000. So it's roughly a $30,000 to $60,000 difference, which is what I would have expected. But that leads to the next question: can you build a pool for $30,000 to $60,000? Well, as I mentioned, we just had a pool built, so I'm going to share those costs with you. I will say this: I realize that saying how much people spend on something isn't information that we usually share, but before we started the process, we really had no idea what to expect about how much a pool would cost. So I hope you'll find it informative and not rude. These numbers are just from last year. The contractor started the building process in July 2022, and it was completed in late November, just a few months ago. When we started, we got 2 very detailed on-site estimates from 2 contractors and 1 ballpark estimate from a 3rd contractor. And all the estimates were very close. The ballpark estimate we got was, he said, $90,000 for a 12 by 24 foot pool with an enclosure. The 2 detailed estimates said the same thing. The first, again, is for a 12 by 24 foot pool with an enclosure, was $98,500, and the other was $103,500. Now these were very similar, but they were slightly different deck sizes and different brands of equipment. Now we ended up going with a company with the slightly higher price because they became highly recommended by some friends. Once we decided on the contractor, we made some pretty significant changes to the estimate, so our actual cost ended up being higher. First, we extended the length of the pool to 33 feet. So 9 feet is pretty significant. Then we added a hot tub and a sun shelf. We moved the pool further away from the back of the house, which extended the deck area. Then we added more decking on both sides of the pool and ended up adding quite a lot of square footage to the pool deck, which of course also not just more decking material, but then the enclosure is bigger as well. We also did several upgrades. The deck material, upgraded lights, upgraded jets in the hot tub. So these things brought our new grand total to $125,000. All these costs were spelled out very specifically before the build started, so there were no surprises there. But I mentioned that there were some costs that caught us by surprise. They weren't necessarily big costs, and they're all things that will vary a lot depending on your tastes and your situation. The first thing that we hadn't really considered were the safety features. We did have safety in mind, but to be in compliance with Hillsborough County Municipal Code, there are several safety features that had to be in place before the pool would pass inspection. So before water could be put in the pool, the county inspector came to make sure we had safety measures in place, or at least on site and ready to be put in place once the water was in the pool. Our yard is completely fenced, but a fence is not enough. Any window and door inside the enclosure, there has to be an alarm. And if it's a sliding door that opens on both sides, that means 2 alarms. These alarms are not expensive and they can be found on Amazon for about $30 a piece. Another acceptable option is a floating alarm that goes off when the surface of the water is disturbed. I have a link to the one that the inspector approved for us below, but for example, because we have a hot tub, we had to have 2 of them. These are also on Amazon for around $220 a piece. We also installed a camera because we thought that would be a good added safety measure. Probably the biggest expense that we underestimated was landscaping. This is obviously something that's going to depend on the yard and what needs to be done. We had a lot of grading. Our sprinkler system had to be redone. We had a lot of sod to be brought in. We brought in a lot of rock. Our front yard was rather destroyed in the process, so we had to have sod in the front as well, and we put some trees and some gardening. It was a lot. It was a lot. Another thing that we didn't spend a lot of time planning for beforehand was furnishing this new space. From the beginning, we thought of this project as not just a pool, but as an addition to our home, an outdoor living space. Obviously, a living space needs furniture. And we knew that, but we didn't do any pricing, so we found out pretty quickly that outdoor furniture does not come cheap. Another thing to consider, of course, are pool maintenance costs. We take care of the pool ourselves. In order to do that well, we use an automatic vacuum. These come in a variety of price points from a couple $100 to a couple thousand. We ended up with a Maytronics Dolphin. We did, of course, as much research as we could. We did buy it on Amazon. I'll have a link to that below as well. It says it climbs the walls, and boy, it really does. I love it. As far as chemicals are concerned, ours is a salt system, but there are still chemicals that have to be added. We take the water in every week to a local store for free testing, and so far we're spending between $25 and $50 a month. We had lots of people tell us that their pool maintenance company only costs $75 or $80 a month. We could not find that to be the case. I called at least 8 companies, but none of them would do all that we needed them to do for under $125 a month. Several were $150. We wanted vacuuming, chemical testing, and balancing, and record keeping, because we need that for our warranty. And of course the monthly things like taking care of the filter and the O-rings and all of that. We did find some companies that were cheaper, but none that would do all that we wanted. Of course, there are also utility costs for heating the pool and running the pump. We haven't noticed a tremendous increase in our electric bill. Maybe an increase, but really nothing noticeable from last year. There was a rate increase anyway, so it's a little hard to tell. We have used the heater a lot for the hot tub and occasionally to heat the whole pool. So that was good. Our water costs, on the other hand, have definitely been higher, significantly higher. There was one month actually where our water bill was higher than the electric bill. Some of that is because, as I mentioned, we have new sod that has to be watered. The most significant cost increase certainly has been our homeowner's insurance. I'm sure it would have gone up anyway, since it does every year, but it almost doubled from roughly $2,400 a year to $4,100 a year. If you remember, I was talking about how it's difficult to tell if it's worth it to buy a home that already has a pool, but when you're considering building a pool from a strictly financial standpoint, is it worth it? Well, no. If all you're doing is crunching the numbers, because is our home worth an additional $125,000 today? No, our home value has increased, but that's because of rising home costs in Florida. The numbers just don't add up. If we tried to sell our house today, would it sell more quickly because it has a pool? Yes, for sure. But then again, back to, is it worth it? For us, the answer is a resounding yes. Despite the several months of waiting, contractor-related headaches along the way, unexpected costs, we just enjoy it so much. We love it for friends, for family and entertaining, for fun, for hot days like this, for exercise, and for this additional living space. We had a backyard that we never used, and now we do. If there are specific questions that I didn't answer, please feel free to reach out or leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching.